Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Seems to be 9 o'clock, and we have everyone here we need to. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let me get my agenda out. I should have had that done. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And then we'll go ahead and get started with Susie Light at KEDCO. I know. Good morning.
KEDCO is requesting $50,000 to engage, as a portion of the funding, to engage Hedden Partners to provide a market and feasibility study related to a new conference center, performing arts center project in downtown Warsaw. The study is going to include market demand, financial feasibility, and economic impact. It's a three-phase study. This will be the first phase of it that will result, and it's coming from two different planning processes that have happened in our community. Warsaw did a refresh of the Hyatt Homeless study. KEDCO and the city of Warsaw have been involved in community-centered economic inclusion work through Brookings Institute and LISC. And both of those have identified that downtown Warsaw should be the corporate, civic, and cultural center of the community. The feasibility for which we're requesting funding is going to provide that analysis to determine if it is even feasible to have this type of center in our community. And I know that for 30 years we've been talking, we need a conference center here. How do we know, and is it sustainable? That we hope this market study will help provide that information. Your investment of $50,000 will help determine if we have the potential to create a $50 million project to attract visitors to our community. All of this information was in the application. If there are any questions that you have, I would be happy to try to answer them.
The three different phases that
Three
you were
different
talking
phases.
about, what would the time frame be for that?
Well, this first phase has some urgency to it, and we want it to be completed because we would like to get, if this is a go, we would like to get this project on the strategic development investment plan by October so that it potentially could qualify for Ready to funding.
Can you talk a little bit about Ready to funding, what that could potentially bring to the community?
While the Ready to hasn't been announced, the details of it have not been announced yet, we do know that the timeline for it is the strategic development plans need to be in place in October. The decision on the project selected will probably be in December, and funding will be released in January. The parameters have not been released yet by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, IEDC.
Has there been any research already done on the market, or would this be the very beginning of that?
I believe that there is information about hotels in our community. You typically have some statistics that hoteleries have access to, but whether or not this is viable in downtown Warsaw has not been analyzed to my knowledge.
So this is the start piece of that.
The very, very beginning.
Right. Okay.
We miss out on a lot of conferences because we don't have the meeting room capacity.
That's what we were going to say. We were talking earlier because I know a lot of times we'll ask for 100, 200. We can't accommodate that. There's nobody in town that can accommodate that. And at first, you know, I had spoken a little bit to you as well, thought, oh, gee, another hotel. It's not the same because it's bringing in big groups, big acts, big things that could potentially build the occupancy for the hotels currently in town that we cannot accommodate, and they'll only be able to accommodate X number, and then everybody that comes in comes and stays elsewhere.
Yep.
So.
Well, if you're like me, when I go to a conference, I usually look for the least expensive place to stay.
Correct, not necessarily, I'm gonna say from, not always. Gotta look for that customer service too.
That's
But-
true.
But yes, I would, and a lot of times you don't wanna stay in the hustle and bustle of what's going on, you might wanna stay somewhere a little bit off campus.
Or where I'm getting points.
Correct, true. You do get
Suzie,
points.
what's the general feel for the community? I mean, I know you've been talking a little bit. It's been widely accepted or?
Matt, I was shocked when we were at the Hyatt Palma public meeting, at the people who said, we need something to do downtown Warsaw in the evening. We need a theater. We need a performance center. And this was bubbling up from general public. We heard the same thing at the CCEI. So, and like I said, for 30 years, we've talked about we need this, we need this. Well, how do we know and how do we document it? And before we get a developer in, we've got to have data to prove that we need it. That's what this can do.
Right, it's just like when you build a hotel, the ownership group does the same type of a market study to see if it's even feasible in the area that you're looking. Thoughts? John, do you have any thoughts?
Who all have you received money from, Susie?
The city of Warsaw has committed funding. The KEDCO will receive funding through the Special Projects Fund through the Kosciuszko County government. And we have some squiggly commitments, not locked in stone yet, from a couple of not-for-profit organizations.
Does the chamber,
Main Street has said they could help,
that's part of the chamber?
Yeah.
right?
and the chamber.
And
Okay.
the chamber?
And the chamber.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Have any other questions, projects?
I'm assuming you got more than one bid for like this 100,000 was,
Matt, we selected this particular firm because they have expertise in this type of feasibility study. They have nationwide experience. They were the people responsible for the Performing Arts Center in Valparaiso. So we did not go seek bids. We don't intend to seek bids. We want the best in the market to do this, and that's why we're choosing the folks that we chose.
I don't have experience with this. I mean, is that in line with, is 100,000 in line?
Yes.
I can answer that too, yes. When the hotels, at least when ownerships do that type of feasibility study, they're in line with what typically. There's a lot of investment out the gate, but again, you want to make sure the return on your investment's worth doing it before you invest all of that money into building.
And what we have found is even if this is a no-go, the information that will be gathered will be helpful to the existing hotels and the existing performing arts folks. So will not be wasted.
No, I don't feel like it's a waste.
Will there be other data gathered besides just the performing arts?
Yes.
So there'll be, essentially, it could help a lot of other agencies also.
I'm not sure that it'll help other agencies. Parking will be part of this. So it will help the city, it will help the county.
I guess my only thought or concern is with the amount we have left for the year and that amount.
We're going to move funds today just to
Okay.
alleviate your concerns.
Okay,
And we'll keep our rainy day fund as well. So we've got a lot on the docket today.
yeah.
And I would agree, and we're going to kind of be proactive in the way that we go about it. I'm going to suggest we put $30,000 toward it.
I'll second that.
I have one more question though. So do you already have an idea on how big, like how many people, what size of an event would this place be able to house that you guys are thinking of?
Feasibility study will tell us that.
Okay,
It's
that's kind of what I figured, but I
it's
wanted to
scratch,
ask in
so.
case. Okay.
yeah.
Is that a motion or?
I made a motion. Do I
I'll
have a
second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. We're going to go with $30,000 toward.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like Corey Humes with the Visitors Bureau is up next.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you today on this rainy Wednesday? Okay, good. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share this project that we have with you, and we are requesting $60,530 towards a digital message sign, which would take replacement of our current static V sign at the Visitor Center, if you're familiar. So the Visitor Center sign has been there since the building of the Visitor Center 24 years ago. And it has been a welcoming beacon for our leisure, corporate, and pass-through travelers, as well as residents that are seeking what you need to do on US 30 and in Kosciuszko County. So it also has been a wonderful wayfinding tool. However, it is still a static sign, so over time, you just kind of see it in the background. So we're hoping for an opportunity to expand our location on US 30 for a digital marketing tool for a digital sign, similar to what you may see on US 30 at Parkview or KCH. Not quite to that size, but we're hoping to be able to market to all of the millions of travelers and communicate through there. Not only all of the events and recreation options for visitors and residents alike in Kosciuszko County, but as well as our quality of life efforts of why we are a wonderful place to live, work, and play. This also has the capability, if the county needs any safety messaging on there for weather-related Amber Alerts, any of those options, we have that capability to do that when asked or needed. And, so sorry, going through. So where we thought this would be a wonderful opportunity is there's over 8 million vehicles that travel past the Visitor Center annually. And this, which is called electronic message sign, would be an effective and eye-catching tool that can drive and contribute to our tourism economic development, which in 2019 was over 200 million. The digital sign has the possibility of gaining over 13 million marketing impressions per year, which includes 1.5 vehicles, passengers per vehicle. Our recommendation we did receive 3 bids, and through our board of directors recommendation, the 16-foot by 8-foot digital sign was recommended for our visibility and space right on US 30. And due to our speed of traffic, which is speed limit is only supposed to be 45 between Parker Street and Main Street, that provides, and since traffic is slowing down with our stop signs and stoplights there, we felt it was a great opportunity for viewers to be able to see that at that size. So the total cost and specs all in is $160,530. We did receive $100,000 from the county through the ARPA funds towards this project. So we're hoping that the Tourism Commission would see the investment over time, what this could provide to the county. The lifespan of the sign is 15 plus years, and it would be in its current space. It may be slightly forward by 3 to 6 feet, but that is just due to some of the electrical underneath that would have to be. And in your package, you kind of saw a mock-up of what it would look like in comparison to the current V. We were trying to design it for nostalgia purposes to try to look that way, but it would have Kosciuszko County Visitor Center on there. And this would be our ultimate goal here is to continue our efforts of tourism across the county in a way that we'd be able to promote all things Kosciuszko County on this sign to those visitors. And we would receive training on that. The bid is all in. So if provided, we'd be able to do that. There is about a 3-month process, if awarded, that it would take to replace the sign and put up new. So it could be, if worked out, completed this year, depending on funding. So we would we hope that this would greatly contribute to our promoting economic growth and our future success in the county. I didn't know if you had any other questions on my grant, if I can be any help with that.
Are you able to move it closer to 30?
Due to towards 30, no, because we're out of the right of way. So where the sign currently sits, we cannot move it towards 30 more. And it's also, if you've been by our visitor center, and you notice there's a slope outside of the fencing. So that fencing is, and on the other side is in dots. and there's slightly eroding happening on that side. So the recommendation would be not to move it any closer, and it would be out of right-of-way, and we'd have to get additional right-of-way permission. So in its current state, it's best where it was, recommendation. Yes. Thank you for that question. And there was some in the past from our ARPA committee, a safety, because it could be distracting, while visiting, people passing, we know distracted driving is an issue. There was a study done in Texas by a university related to this, that they do not contribute to any safety issues related to that, if that was a concern for our residents and travelers on US 30.
Well, as slow as traffic moves out there during the day, they're gonna have a lot of time to look at that sign.
Well, I hope so.
Really?
I don't know what was going on US 30 West this week, but it was, yes, there's a lot of
They'll have a
time.
lot of time to study it.
There would
so
be a lot of
There'll be a lot
time.
of information.
Yes. So the recommendation, the Watchfire, if you're familiar with that company, is where the sign is actually from. And they said that at least a 5-second eyes would be best recommended.
You'll have that.
We'll have that cycling through depending, and we would keep a lot of the guidelines we already do when it comes to our events on our website. It's an opportunity to promote Wagon Wheel, Syracuse, all things going on right at the Visitor Center.
I move we accept the request.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you
right.
very much. I
Your
appreciate it.
sign. Okay, next, Lori Widman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank this board for the fine work that you do and to Rhonda Helser and her staff for facilitating you. Naturally, as a traveler, I'm aware of the taxes I pay when I rent a hotel room, but it was only recently that I found out this is the group that disperses those funds, and I think that's really fascinating, and I thank you for all the things that you're doing for the community, and these are exciting projects. So thank you. And I also thank you for taking the time to listen to my request. So I'm Lori Widman, and I'm the board president of Classic Arts Programs. I've been with the board, I've been the president since May of 2021, and I'd like to give you these handouts.
Thank you.
And I also have a program booklet from our Christmas concert last year.
Thank you.
So page 1 introduces you to Classic Arts Programs. Page 2 announces our Christmas in the Village concert. Page 3 presents our special guest and lays out plans for our future growth. And page 4 displays the financials for the project. So page 1, our history, you can see who we are and our mission statement. It gives a little history of how we came about. We've been actually an organization since 1984, coming up on our 40th year. So our mission statement there, we exist to enhance the cultural life in the Warsaw area and Kosciuszko County through the quality performance of diverse choral works, enabling singers of all ages to grow musically and personally through the rehearsal process and other activities. So that black box there shows our 3 entities under our umbrella. Our community chorale is our adults, grades 11 through 92. Our youth chorale is grades 3 through 10, and our preparatory academy is grades K through 2. So these are our performing groups. We also have a jazz vocal ensemble with 8 adults, and tonight we're performing at the Kosciuszko County Fair at 7 p.m. Please come. We are also part of a fine arts coalition in the county. So Classic Arts Programs is part of a coalition with Grace College, Wagon Wheel Center for the Arts, Warsaw Community High School Performing Arts Center, and a handful of other musicians and art supporters. We meet monthly to champion the fine arts of Kosciuszko County. We want to see our performances continue, thrive, and grow. We help each other, encourage each other, and support each other's endeavors. And that sounded like a great mission statement, but I just made that up last night. So that's just my take on what we do. You'll see there our flyer for our upcoming concert right here. So that is what this year's program will look like on page 2. So this moves into the opportunity that you have to partner with us. We are collaborating with those entities that I mentioned earlier, and our annual Christmas concert Christmas in the Village will be held at the Winona Heritage Room, Saturday, December 9th at 4 p.m., Sunday, December 10th, 4 and 7:30 p.m. So this is a collaborative concert with Classic Arts Program, our youth and adult chorales, the Bremen Children's Choir, Grace College Lancer Chorus, handbell choirs from Trinity United Methodist Church, Warsaw Evangelical Presbyterian Church, and the Wagon Wheel Symphony of the Lakes. This year, we are excited because we're featuring Tim Zimmerman and the King's Brass. And you can see by this photo that they bring an energetic and fun element to their performance of extremely high-quality entertainment. They'll be traveling from Tennessee, Michigan, Virginia, Minnesota, Iowa, New York, Florida, and South Korea. Page 3, yes, this is that cheeky, I call them a cheeky group. They are funny, they are fun-loving, but they are excellent musicians. They really draw the audience into their performance and will enhance our concert. So they were with us in 2019, and that was the first time we held 2 performances of our Christmas concert. And we sold out both performances, approximately 1,000 seats total in the Winona Heritage Room. And if you've ever been in there, putting 500 seats with a full orchestra and a 100-voice choir, that's a tight fit, but we did it. And this year, we are expanding again with your help and the help of the Kosciuszko County Community Foundation. They have already given us a grant for this as well. We're adding a 3rd performance so that we can get more patrons in to hear the King's Brass and our concert. So we're hoping for at least 1,200 in all. So we want to grow our concerts, and this is the year to take that big step. The King's Brass is a crowd favorite, and we feel confident this will nudge us into hosting 3 performances from now on. There are 9 members of the King's Brass, and we will need local accommodations and meals for them Friday through Sunday nights, December 8th through 10th. Also, we're adding an additional performance, we'll have over 150 singers and musicians, 40 of whom are children, and many of whom will travel from counties such as Marshall, Allen, Elkhart, St. Joe. Their families will be traveling to dress rehearsals, performances both days. Many of them will need to eat at local restaurants. I wanted you to just note that a meal will be provided at Grace College for the performers in between the 2 Sunday performances, only for the performers. So there'll be a carryover from the 4 to 7:30, so all these families will be there. They're not getting fed by Grace College, only the performers. So all those other people have to go eat somewhere else, which is a good thing. So marketing for you would be in our program booklet that you're looking at there, a full-page ad if you'd like, or a mention, your name mentioned with our other grant awards, whatever you choose. Of course, a verbal announcement at the opening of our 3 performances, your logo on our sponsor page on our website, and any other way that you request that we could accommodate. So also note, I have placed in an order to our marketing team to add a page to our website for visitors listing local hotels and restaurants. I think that's a great idea. I've seen other nonprofits do that, other points of interest as well. We want our patrons to understand and experience the treasures in Kosciuszko County, so we want to do what we can to show those. So page 4 shows the financials. You have a list of our expenses. The price tag for bringing the King's Brass in is about $16,000. And then we have our other expenses just for the Symphony of the Lakes, for the musicians and the personnel manager, tech support, the dinner that I mentioned, our printing and marketing, decor and miscellaneous, music purchases. So the total for the concert is $30,850. And then I show our list of our sources of income, our Kosciuszko County Community Foundation grant. Grace College is our financial partner in our Christmas concerts. Our ticket sales, potentially a grant from you for $5,000, totaling the $30,850. So as I've shown, we have many participants, not to mention patrons from other counties traveling to Kosciuszko County for this event. And we promote our events in Kosciuszko, Wabash, Elkhart, Marshall, LaGrange, and St. Joe counties. And in closing, I believe this request fits your requirements. Your purpose statement states, these funds are to assist qualified organizations with the promotion of activities striving to directly increase visitor spending and to create positive image-building publicity for Kosciuszko County. I feel that our event definitely does that for you. And the use of money, of grant monies section, you state, grant funds may be utilized for expansion or enhancement of current festivals, events, and attractions. I'm inviting you to help us expand our annual Christmas in the Village concert. So before I invite you to ask me any questions, I just wanted to express how meaningful it would be should you choose to support our concert. With the greatly added expenses of bringing in such a renowned group, and with the 9 hotel rooms we need, along with travel expenses and their meals, you would be relieving us of a great amount of financial concern while adding a wildly successful event to your list of accomplishments. So, what questions do you have for me?
Out of your ticket sales, how many of them are coming from outside of the county?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and we don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
But we are adding to we do most of our ticket sales online, and I've talked to our fella who helps us with that and asked him to include your zip code
Okay.
feature, so we can track that, because we want to know that too.
And is that something that Corey at the CBB, your event counter, she could be beneficial for
Okay.
you as well?
Yeah, so, would you like me to share that?
Yes, please.
If we haven't shared it with you before, we have an events and sports calculator where provided, we can provide, just some very basic information. We can place that into an algorithm of the calendar, and it provides back the economic impact of your event to Kosciuszko County.
So-
And I believe you already are recipienting those events and having doing
Okay.
to our website, which we will continue doing. But once that occurs or any other events, we're happy to share that with our team and get that back. So, Lacey was here, CCAC, driving really, you can showcase what your actual taxes.
Awesome. Is that retroactive? Can you do that for previous events? Okay, I'll contact you. Great. Awesome, wonderful. Thank you. Well, do you have that information for me right now so I can answer the question? Anything else?
I'm looking down through expenses. I know directly I can see the 1,500 exactly that's in our wheelhouse. The tech support would be on a fine line of it. What are your thoughts, John?
I think what you're doing.
It's a great, it is.
Thank
It
you.
is.
Great for the
And I think it's a
community.
growing,
That's right.
I can see it being a growing event.
Yeah, that was, I guess, my one concern when I was reviewing it earlier is what you're asking for is actually paying for the hotel rooms. And if in here with the request,
But also, when she's talking about an ad in there for the KCCRVC, what would the expense of that be if we were to, you see what I mean? It may
Right.
be offset of the 1,500 for her
Yeah.
5,000 she's asking for.
yeah.
Thank you for that. That's a good question, good answer. Thank you for answering the question for me.
Well, my brain always in financial mode. Any other questions? Say what you're thinking.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
Well, I'll put it on the table. I make a motion to approve that amount, and then we can discuss it.
Okay. Do everybody that wants a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very
Go ahead,
much.
Brian, for
Thank you.
5,000.
I'll be glad to get you all comp tickets to the concert. I mean it.
It's gonna be a neat event. Be a good event.
That's good.
Okay, it's a good event. Okay. Back to my agenda. Lost track. Okay, next is Mike Hagee with the CCAC.
Good morning.
Morning.
Here in hopes of helping get funding for remodeling of our west end concessions and restrooms. About 4 years ago, we remodeled through some funding on our east side concessions and restrooms. For those that aren't aware, we have 8 baseball, softball fields that are separated into two 4-field hubs. Like I said, the east side was remodeled. The west side is in dire need now. Our park's 29 years old, and I believe these restrooms concessions are 29 years old. We spent a few $1,000s early spring of this year when we encountered some fixture leaks, issues that we need to replace ourselves. But as they started to uncover and work on those things, we realized that the project's much deeper than just replacing some piping and things like that. In the nature of our business, repeat business is our driving force. So I believe the initial view of our restrooms and concessions is a huge factor in teams and players returning. Obviously, the players and coaches see the fields and the facility itself, and I think I'm getting to the point where we're where we need to be on the fields. Unfortunately, the parents and grandparents see the restrooms and concessions. And as of this past weekend, I actually received an email from a parent with concerns of our women's restrooms on the west side. So I think this issue here is something we need ASAP. As we dwindle down, we're down to about 6 tournaments left for the year. So this would be a fall-winter project for us on our downtime. But this quote, it does say 44,160, but I did on the application request 50 for any incidental issues because they are obviously getting into fixtures and plumbing and things like that they may encounter. Obviously, anything unspent is returned or not used and just given back. This would include complete renovation, new urinals, toilets, sinks, dividers, lighting, mirrors, sink, everything. In the concessions, it's new countertops, eliminating some of our old outdated wiring and plumbing and fixtures and that. So it is a full overhaul of concessions and restrooms of that building. So, any questions?
How's your activity this year compared to the last year?
Up.
Participants?
Definitely up. This past weekend, we brought in a new sports association that had never been to the park before. They were quite happy. Actually said that we were one of the best parks they've been to, considering we're a not-for-profit park. Obviously, you've got your state-of-the-art Grand Park and championship parks and things like that. But he did speak with me after the tournament and wants to bring an 80-team tournament next year because of this past weekend. They signed on and rented a tournament this year in October. So they are getting on board with what we've had in the past. So we've had an up year as far as participation and groups coming in for the weekend events, for sure.
And I ask this question every time, but have you reached out to any other, grants out there? What are you doing on your grants? Do you have it?
Yes,
Okay.
we have. And I've met with a particular group who has requested that we, due to the financial state of previous administration, that we give them one more year of what
Under your
we've
belt.
done and improved and kind of turned our financials around to revisit them. So, yeah, I have definitely reached out.
You mentioned that softball.
Correct.
Are there other sports that you're thinking about bringing in?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Mr. Grace, I have spoken with a gentleman from Grace I'm supposed to meet with here soon about partnering with Grace with some of their club programs, i.e. rugby, ultimate frisbee, things like that. We did bring in this year for the first time a girls' fast pitch league that we partnered with Boggs. We brought in a 13U baseball league for the first time this year as well. So we are definitely reaching out and getting new programs and new events here, absolutely. I spoke yesterday with a concert promoter. Funny we mentioned that. We're looking at having concerts in the park. I've got a connection on that. So we are definitely looking at doing new and better things for the community.
Thinking outside of box.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
No, I have.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the grant.
For the 50,000?
Well, he's going to give back what isn't used, but
Correct.
we need to get the numbers the same. So I'm going to put the 50,000.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest that, but then if he doesn't spend beyond what the quote
Oh,
is, we'll
absolutely.
get back the additional funds.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Aye.
As always, I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Mike. Okay, Dr. Nate Bosch and Jeremy Price for the Lilly Center for the Lakes and Streams.
Morning, everybody. So
Morning.
I'm Nate Bosch, the director of the Lilly Center, and with me is not Jeremy Price, it's Anna Crawford. So
I apologize.
she is, well, we had a last minute change. So Anna is our student lead for our Lilly Center algae team. So she's one of our college students, and Jeremy had a dentist appointment this morning, and Anna's actually taking a grant writing class for her nonprofit master's program at Grace, and she leads our algae program, and that's what we're asking for grant money for. So we thought it'd be appropriate to bring her. So if you ask me any really difficult questions, then
She'll
I will
answer them.
pass them on to her later. All right, so our largest single draw for visitors to Kosciuszko County is our lakes. Historically, the biggest threat to visitors enjoying our lakes has been E. coli in our lakes. Currently, the biggest threat is toxins from algae. We're working on both of these threats this year, and we're asking for a grant from you all to cover about 5% of our total cost, or about $15,000. I wanted to be very concise.
Yes.
So, I know you guys have a long meeting, so that's
Well, if
I'm
you
a
got-
scientist, so
if
I
you got all
just,
the money, Nate, how do you take care of that problem?
yeah, so algae toxin, there's a number of different types of algae in our lakes, and one of the types is blue-green algae, and that's the one that can produce the toxins. Anna and her team look at other types of algae as well, like greens and diatoms and golden algae. Those are good types of algae. What we're noticing on our lakes is we're shifting towards more of the bad type of algae, the blue-green algae. Part of it is zebra mussels, which eat the good algae, but they don't eat the bad algae. Some of it is climate or nutrients or agricultural practices around our lakes. It's part of what we're trying to figure out with the research that we're doing right now. We want to find the patterns of what's going on, and then we can figure out the prevention of that. And so this research project is not only looking at toxins, notifying the public, keeping them safe for now, but it's also looking ahead to the future. How do we prevent this problem?
And who pays for that prevention in the future?
We have we've got a number of different funding streams that come into the Lilly Center. We have private donors around our lakes who obviously have a vested interest in the lakes and their quality in the future. We have partners like the Community Foundation, K21 Health Foundation, several of our local municipalities like Warsaw, Winona Lake associations give us funding as well.
And LAIR, is that the state program?
Yeah, LAIR, we've gotten LAIR funding as well. That's the Lake and River Enhancement Program from the DNR. Yep. Yeah, so this is a global issue that folks are trying to figure out around the world. The toxins and why they're produced sometimes and not other times. And we have the best data, the best notification system for sure in Indiana, for Kosciuszko County, and likely in the Midwestern United States. In fact, Purdue University just got a grant this past year, and they contacted us to work with us, looking at satellite imagery, finding patterns and preventative strategies for algae toxins because of our database and the work that we're doing in Kosciuszko County. So we are leading the way amongst Indiana and the Midwest for keeping our people safe when they come and use our lakes.
So if this isn't something you guys are able to kind of get in front of and prevent down the road, what is the effect it's gonna have on the lakes down the road? Would it get to where they were not, you couldn't use them anymore for anything, basically?
Yeah. So a great case study in that is next door to us in Ohio. They have their largest lake, which is like our Lake Wawasee. Their largest lake is Grand Lake St. Mary's. They've had really bad algae toxin levels so high that property values have dropped to less than 50% of what they were in just a few years' time. Their local tourism industry is completely decimated. When you drive around that lake now, I've been there a few times, meeting with researchers in that area, learning from them. It's like a ghost town around there. They've spent over $20 million trying to fix the problem, and the levels are still too high for people to go in the water. So we're remaining proactive here in our community so that doesn't happen.
So you're
here.
looking at preventative maintenance, so we don't have an issue of a decline in people coming to our lakes to put heads in beds and to contribute to our community. Okay.
Exactly.
I was trying to bring it around home to see how we fit into
Yeah.
this. Okay.
And,
Yeah, lakes are our biggest
Huge piece.
asset and driver for bringing people here. We don't want our lakes to become a deterrent for people from coming here.
Correct.
How many, you guys have already done research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have already made some significant, like, advances on that, so you're way ahead of the game kind of a little bit in that aspect, we're not,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, and I'll mention too, as I said in my opening 4 sentences, historically the issue was E. coli, and we've done a lot of work on E. coli, and we've solved some of those E. coli issues already for Kosciuszko County at some of our public swimming beaches. And so now we're turning our sights towards algae toxins, which is the current biggest threat for people and their pets when they come and visit our communities.
Is it increasing right now?
It seems to be pretty steady right now, but it's very sporadic, as Anna
Right.
will tell you in the research. And that's what we're trying to figure out is why does it pop up in one lake versus another? For example, a couple years ago, we had a certain area of Chapman Lake, which was our highest readings ever. Got up over, well over the human health threshold in just an isolated part of Chapman Lake, but we've seen high spikes on Lake Wawasee over time. A few weeks ago, we looked across all of Lake Wawasee, for example, since that's our biggest lake. Lower levels on most of Wawasee, but at the sandbar, we had levels that were above the dog threshold, and so we had to send out an alert for people to keep their dogs out of the sandbar area of Lake Wawasee a few weeks ago. And so, and then the very next week, it came back down again. And so part of what Anna's team does is when they're looking under the microscope and identifying these different species of algae, that's where the key is to figure out how to prevent. When we know which algae are producing the toxins, we can start to hone in on those particular algae types. How many different types of algae would you say that your team has identified in our lakes
Just cyanobacteria or
overall?
overall? Probably upwards of 50, 60 different species.
Wow.
There could be more than that. Starting as
No.
Yeah, and we were just on Lake Wawasee just last night, doing an eco tour, and currently on Lake Wawasee, well over 90% of the algae in that lake is blue-green algae, the type that can produce the toxins. The toxin levels are very low, so for whatever reason, the algae are happy right now and not producing toxin. But part of our research is to figure out when do they get angry and then decide to produce the toxin, and then how can we prevent that in the future?
Are you the only organization in Kosciuszko County doing this research on our lakes, or is there other organizations from
Nope,
the
it's
state
just-
or local doing anything?
In our county, we're the only ones. At the state level, it's us and the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. So we're the two agencies that are pushing this forward in the state of Indiana. Indiana Department of Environmental Management, they have in their jurisdiction all of the state park public swimming beaches in the state of Indiana. And so we link up our methodology to theirs, and we're actually part of their reporting system, and we follow cues from them. In fact, you guys just went and visited them down in Indianapolis just a couple weeks ago, again, to compare notes and make sure that we're doing things the same way. But they don't have an interest necessarily in our inland lakes here in Kosciuszko County because we don't have any state parks with public swimming beaches. We have public swimming beaches, but they're county level, they're not state level. And so we're the ones who do that analysis here.
I move it.
Move to make a motion to
Yeah,
approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like next we have Chuck with the Lake City Skiers. Morning, Chuck.
Chuck?
How you doing this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good. The grant that I'm requesting today is part of an ongoing grant that we started some time ago. I didn't request a grant for the last 2 quarters because we were able to handle those payments through our normal revenue. This year, we have a lot more expenses. As you know, we had 3 major tournaments this year. And so, you know, I'm asking for 2 quarters worth of payments. Just kind of give you an update on what's going on with the team. A very good season, very big season. Our following and fan base has increased dramatically this year. Corey just put out a video advertisement on social media that just exploded. We're really thankful to Visitors Bureau for that. And we've gotten a lot of news coverage from the Fort Wayne area, South Bend area. You know, so it's really starting to draw even more people in than what we had previously. This past weekend, we had a very successful tournament, Central Region tournament. The team itself did well. As far as our membership numbers and stuff, we were able to put 80 people out on the water in 1 act, which is big for our team. It makes us one of the largest teams in the nation now. And of course, without these motors, it would just be a swim team, you know, so. So, you know, it's an important part of the show. We are attracting a lot of people to Kosciuszko County. Tuesdays and Sundays, people are coming from all over. I receive phone calls through social media accounts and stuff from people as far away as California planning their vacation, so to make sure that we're having a show when they're going to be here. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at now. Team is growing and fans are growing and everything's going really good this year.
Was it 2 years ago that we did, or?
Well, Chuck, why don't you explain to the new members
Yeah.
this motor situation?
Okay,
We have some new members.
all right. A couple of years back, we used to have Evinrude as a sponsor. And they would sponsor new motors each year. We had to sell them at the end of the year, and then they would give us new motors for the following year. And when COVID hit and all of that, Evinrude went out of business. So we were left without any motors. We either had to buy what we had or, you know, go someplace else to try to, you know, buy new motors. We had to buy them. There was no other choice. So to outfit all of our boats with the motors that we had on them, it was over $100,000, I think $124,000 for those motors. So we took out a short-term loan, and then we're making quarterly payments on those motors to pay those off.
What's your balance on that?
We're right at 54,000 now.
How much?
54.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
down here.
So we're about halfway there.
Halfway there.
Yeah.
How many hours, I mean, these motors gonna last a long time, you think? Or-
Yeah, the motors that we purchased, they were brand new because they had just been, sponsored the year before. So they had the full warranty on them and everything. And then the motors have a pretty long lifetime. We put about 100 hours or so per motor each year. On them. We're putting a little bit more than that on them this year because we have more tournaments, more members, more time on the water. So, but yeah, we look for these motors to last us, a long while.
I'm assuming that you've approached the new, what type of motors are you using now? What brand?
Evinrude.
Okay.
Evinrude is what we're running now.
Those are the ones that are out of business.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Now, they still supply all the replacement parts and all of that and everything. They just don't manufacture the motors anymore.
Have you approached another company to do the similar type of?
We are looking at a couple different companies. Suzuki is offering a program, but you also have to have a certified dealer in your area to service those motors, as well as just the, because like in this case, Clark's Marine was the certified Evinrude dealer. And so everything went through them. The motors went through their floor plan, all the rigging and everything. They had to do all of that, in order for us to qualify for the sponsorship. And so that's the things that we're looking into right now. Mercury also has a program, and it's something that we're looking into. Sometimes the deals aren't as good as they sound, and I don't want to be negative. I don't have all the details on what those programs offer, so I don't want to say, too much about it that I don't know what I'm talking about. So, but there are a couple of other motor companies out there that are offering some sponsorships, and it is something that we're looking into. One thing too that you should be aware of is they sponsor your motors. They don't sponsor your rigging. So all of your computers and everything that goes with that, the props for the motors and everything, that's come out of our pocket. So we already have all of the Evinrude rigging, and some of that, like on our triple rig, you're looking up to $10,000 for just the rigging.
A few years ago, we signed on to this agreement with you people, so I
Right.
make a motion, we approve this.
Right, we did.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
How's those new bleachers working out? Are you filling them
Filling
up?
them up?
Fantastic. We're filling them.
Yep.
Good.
We're filling them. Yeah, the very, very thankful that
There's
we,
two of them, two new ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and very thankful for those because, we would have had a lot of people standing if we hadn't got those.
Good.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Chad. 7,703.28. Okay, Lakeisha Green with the wagon wheel that's coming back that we tabled, and we've all had some opportunity to discuss things prior
Oh,
to here,
yes,
so it shouldn't take
yes.
too long.
The first shall be last and the last shall be first. Amen? Amen. Whew. So, a lot has happened since the last time I was here. First of all, thank you so much. As visitors and, of course, the cast and production crew that stayed in White Hill, they are enjoying it. And that wouldn't be possible without you all. We said all the time, it's truly been a blessing. Since the last time I was here and the 232 was tabled, we did due diligence of what you all recommended for us to do. I went and sat down first with the board of directors. Where? I'm missing my people. I'm like, wait a minute, I feel empty.
She doesn't have
But we went and we sat down and
we went through. And before that, thank you to the commissioners that came out. Loud, especially, we had some hard conversations. We really did. And I appreciate all of your questions, all of your concerns, and understanding the facility of how the wagon wheel works. Because this is one, they did a full tour. We started off in White Hill, but they actually did the whole tour of the facility. And that's why I wanted you all, and you all are still welcome to come out, because I really want you all to see it. You know, it's one thing that we give you all this data and the pictures and all that, but to actually walk it and see it for yourself, to see how the pieces of the puzzle work together, it just makes sense. And I'm glad a lot of the questions that you asked really it moved over into our board with meeting with the board, and coming back and breaking that down and doing what makes sense and looking at how we can set ourselves up for other streams of avenue. Because right now we're being very strategic with planning and where we're getting funding. Because one thing is for sure, program dollars are there. I have no issue getting program dollars, but if I don't have no infrastructure, there can't be any program dollars if nobody has anywhere to go, if we can't do what we do. So today we sat down in a lot of intense fellowships. It was more than one meeting because we had some board members that wanted to go this way, but we had to all make it make sense. And with the help of Milestone Construction, who's been by our side, Thomas, to guide us and advise us into what makes sense for you all as far as funding wise, and what will make sense for us sustainability wise to move forward in these phases as we map out. And what we came up with was the sustainability for the safety of our windows, of getting that. Because that sets us up to be able to ask for other dollars to go into, make sure that we are being ADA compliant, because there are grants available for that with AWS and all of that, but we have to have that particular piece of the puzzle done immediately. So that way we can definitely set up, because as winter gets ready to set in for our holiday show that's coming up, we still want White Hill to be usable. So I'm gonna let Thomas speak on, so today we're asking for $77,000 for this window project, and I want him to expound on what that is, because that's not my forte. He'll be able to break that down.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us. So as Lakeisha said, we took the funds that you guys generously donated about a year ago, and we've renovated the whole roof of the buildings. If you drive by, you'll see some shiny copper up there. That was where we basically opened up valleys and made it so water flows off and not back in behind the slate. What was really impressive, and I don't know if we touched on this last time, is that as they took the slate off in different areas, yes, there were definitely holes in some areas, but other areas that slate's been up there since 1920, and the felt underneath it was still in really, really good shape. So it was all able to be repaired, able to maintain the look and the integrity of it, and the roof should last a very long time from now. And so with that, we replaced all the gutters and a lot of areas that were tied into the roof. We reflashed those in matching materials, and so that's all going to age, so it won't be shiny, but it's going to last a very long time. And so through that process and through your funds, we replaced 3 windows that were major leak sources during that phase of the project. At the same time, we had some additional organizations that helped us replace a bunch of plumbing parts to get the actors in there. And so I think you guys were able to see that when you were there. We had basically the force main that shuts off water to the building had to be shut off at the road because the valves inside were all bad. And so we partnered up with Quine Heating and Cooling, and they helped us basically replace all the valves and make sure every shower worked for the actors and actresses and staff that stayed there. So that part's been done. The next part of the use of that building is replacing windows so that actors, actresses, staff can get out if there's some sort of issue. And so currently they are old metal windows and some other replacement windows that have storms that don't come off. So we've got a plan in place that we would go through and replace windows systematically through the bedrooms first and then into the shared living spaces and elsewhere, so that as people stay there, and hopefully there's not a problem, but if there was a problem, we could get people out safely. So let's say there's a fire in the hallway, they can get out a window, or just be able to open them and get a breeze for just healthier living in those spaces in the different seasons. And so the goal with the $77,000 would be to order the windows, soon, so that with the lead time of those, we could start construction of replacing them in the fall, once the season's over, and have it ready back for actors, actresses, and staff to stay during the winter show. So timing is somewhat critical on that, just to be able to get the lead times to work out. That's our plan at this point. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
If you get your questions answered.
Do you have any other options besides us for the windows? I mean, if we don't come through with the whole amount, is there a backup plan?
We would have to come up, the thing is with capital projects, there are not a lot of fun, nobody funds. Everybody wants to do programming. Nobody thinks about infrastructure that it matters. So the plan would be we would have to pay out of pocket, which we don't want to do because as everyone knows, we just had a cancellation of a show, which hurt us financially. Which we were dependent on that. If we couldn't get all the funding, we would be able to stretch that, but we can't do that now. So that's why it's really, really crucial, you know, in the time
We're
frame.
getting a little bit outside our wheelhouse for it, because if it were the theater we were making improvements upon, the direct theater, not where you're housing and not for salary type, we're getting a little bit on the cuff. We just have to be very careful about our investment. And I know there's a return, believe me, I know that there's a return. I was actually under Carol Craig before she passed away, and I was the GM over there. Didn't have the same last name, but I'm very familiar. Theater's close to my heart, back in the days of Bruce. But we have to be very careful that we're strategic and we're not just helping with the salaries for the actors. And I know it's in.
No, it does not cover salaries for actors.
No, but what I'm saying is for the housing of them, for the
Okay.
thought process of housing them. It's a financial, it's not we're making an improvement to the theater that actually draws in from outside for the county. We just have to be careful how we're investing. It's not like we're redoing a bathroom in the theater, or we just have to be impactful with our thought process, that we're not giving too much and then we don't have funds left for other things in the community that may be another draw too. So I've spoke with Mark at length and some of you. I'm going to suggest that we give 40,000 towards the project. That's a number. I know it's not what you're asking for, but hoping that it will be enough to get the project started and underway.
Okay.
I don't know what your thoughts are.
I'm just new enough to this
Correct.
board that I need to make sure we have plenty of money.
We do.
to-
We're going to
that
move funds.
40,000 will
We're
be-
going to
We
move
can
funds.
afford it.
We can afford it.
We're over our grants
We're-
for this year.
Correct, but we're going to
we
move
gotta
some
transfer
funds. But
some
we have
money.
2 more visits yet this year to really encourage others to also come. And I don't want to get us to a point where we're completely turning everything down for everyone.
Right.
You applied for ARPA money, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and is that's capital items, right?
Right, and that's for the theaters and for 2517.
Okay.
So that's why this didn't, you know, we started off with you all with White Hill. So we wanted to
I understand
complete.
that. And I
Yeah.
get it from the perspective, I understand completely how that flows in.
Oh, yeah.
where You're paying, we just have to be very conscientious that it's not seen as, you know what I mean? Because we're not giving, I just said it wrong, the salary, but it is impactful of the bottom line and what we're paying for that show. It's not the theater itself. We just have to be careful.
It's a stretch.
Correct.
And it is, it's a very, like I said, it's a very intricate piece, White Hill,
Correct.
you know.
And I get it. I think it's
you know.
great what you're doing, and that place is beautiful. It is. There's a lot of history, and it is a good draw for the county.
Well, I'd second you then.
All
In
right,
favor? Aye. All right.
thank you.
40,000. Okay, looks like Corey, you're back up.
Hello again. My apologies. Thank you again for hearing me out and supporting the Kosciuszko County Convention and Visitors Bureau. We do love our jobs and continue to so market and showcase Kosciuszko County to visitors, residents, and all and corporate travelers. So I do have a few board members with me today. I have Jennifer, Doug, and James in the back supporting the CVB today. Just quickly, travel trends, how we're looking according to Destination Analysis. Americans are still very excited to travel. It's at a record high this year. However, as many of us still know, concerns of our personal finances are contributing to how much we're spending during that travel. So what we're seeing is as visitors are spending about an average of $3,719 nationwide per trip, which is slightly down. But people are still traveling and just looking for other ways to spend that are a little bit more affordable. Where we believe Kosciuszko County is very positioned well to attract visitors and deliver all those great opportunities to our leisure travel, as well as our corporate resident travelers that are here doing business and what they can do outside of that. I did share with you our occupancy report via email. You know, we're seeing a little occupancy as I'm betting down. We're hoping to see those over the 12-month period increase. So we're still working with that, and if there's anything we can do that we're not already doing to try to increase that, please let us know. We know there have been some corporate travelers that haven't been attending as in the past, and there were some conventions that did happen last year, meetings that did not return in 2023. So we're hoping to work with that and continue to market and bring those in, especially our leisure travelers. And again, and I appreciate you continuing to showcase our sports and events calculator. We still are doing that. So any events or grants that you are providing to from the Tourism Commission, please let them know that they have that possibility of providing. We have that economic impact calculator ready to go. So we are reaching out to those areas and those organizations. And I know it's a time-consuming thing. However, they are impactful to them moving forward with any grants they may need. So also, our 2022 Tourism Economic Impact Research, which is performed biannually by CERTEC for 2022, should be out in August. So we'll be able to share that report with you in September. We're hoping to see 2022 was a great travel year. So I believe they should be some great numbers. So that's coming together quickly. We will be hosting our third quarter hoteliers meeting on September 17th at the Visitor Center, continuing those, having some good conversations with the hoteliers. Learned a lot at our last one. Our Z Hotel joined us, so that was really great. I know that's not our typical, they're a little different from our others, but it was great to have them there and engage and work with our other hoteliers. We have begun our visitor guide sales for 2024. We're starting a little earlier because we've been having some, getting to us on time. So we're hoping to start sales a little earlier to get that in. Hopefully our goal is February of 2024. Also, you're aware that we did receive an art activation grant from in Indiana, or IDDC. That mural is completed in the Visitor Center. We will be hosting a small little open house where you can meet the artists. We're calling it a popsicle party, just a little fun little open house to welcome visitors to it. And please come by and stop by. It's a little different than you're maybe used to seeing in the Visitor Center. So please come on in. We are doing some really great work with our Banwango passports, which again, we kindly thank you for that support of that project. A lot of visitors are signing up and checking in, and prizes are being earned. So we're seeing that from residents and visitors alike. So for our Clearly Kosciuszko management, we've been very glad to be able to manage that through our partnerships with Lily Lakes and Streams. So we do thank Nate and his team for that. We are working and had a meeting yesterday with that team of KEDCO, Chamber, and Lily Lakes and Streams as ourselves of what that is going to look like for the future. So we'll be able to share with you what that brand looks like for the CVB in our September meeting. And did you have any questions related to our financial reports, our meeting minutes?
As you were talking, you mentioned that when do the most people come to visit Kosciuszko County and stay in hotels? What month?
It would be summer. It would be our summertime. You're thinking what time frame?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. if you want to look within that 6-month period, yes. And we prefer to call those other months shoulder seasons for us, yes. There are some smaller events that do happen pre-March, but March is really that starting point.
Ends in the end of September.
Yes, we do say, if you know, Grace, Chad, let me know that Grace is hosting the National Cross Country
yes,
Tournament
in,
in
it's
November.
November.
So that is new for us, and they'll be having that bid for 2 years. So
years.
that's another opportunity for visitors really in that shoulder season. He shared it with the hoteliers,
We're supposed
yes.
to have a meeting soon.
So that is great for us. They have not, this is new in conjunction with, it's the NCCAA, so we're looking forward to that. That was my spiel.
Could I make a recommendation? The event calculator and sports calculator did mention it a couple of times. And I haven't been on the tourism commission's website, but the applicants go online for the application to submit for grant proposal. Does the application reference the calculators, do you know? Because one of the things that we talked about is that if some of the same grant seekers come back year after year, that if they don't provide the information for the CDC to run those calculating,
Then they can't reapply.
be ineligible for future funding. And so I would just encourage you to consider integrating those calculators in the application process.
It would be
gives us a lot
helpful
of
for us to
information.
get that back. We know that, yeah, thank you, Doug, I appreciate that. It would be helpful. We do our due diligence of reaching out to those organizers. We know it's really not that time consuming. We really only need very little
Do you
data.
have a link to that? Like,
It's more of, yes, so we can maybe set up something that makes it more user-friendly versus us communicating with them. Yes, we can maybe figure something out, a
while we're
form
doing that there.
with communication with the county for that webpage. We can maybe provide a form they fill out of the information they need, then it
Okay.
submits to us, if that's capable with your IT. That would probably make it easier. Because it's very little information we need. And if some of the events that are sponsored don't always necessarily provide a overnight of approximation, that algorithm puts that in there and provides that to you. So it's really just number of visitors, when it happens, and very basic information. So that's how unique that calculator is. So if that is helpful, thanks, Doug. That would be great for us, because we know Kosciuszko is providing so many great things and so many economic impacts per event, that overall provides a great economic impact.
It also
So
may bring you in light of some events you weren't aware of too.
it would, if there's a
Yeah.
pace, so we always do our best to keep that,
Right.
and yes, so that would be
Okay.
wonderful. But that,
Thank you, Deb.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, next we're at the approval of the minutes from May 10th.
I make a motion to approve.
All right.
Yeah. A
All in-
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved from May 10th. Review of the financials.
Well,
Uh-huh.
okay, looks like we're up to date on our innkeeper's taxes from our hotels, which is good. Looking over our receipts for the year, last year at this time, we've taken in roughly 350,000. This year, 301, so we're down, roughly $50,000 year to date. And most of it is in the innkeeper's tax, of which, we're down about $31,000. So, Jessica, what's going on with the hotels?
Orthopedics didn't bounce back quite
No,
yet,
didn't.
did they?
They're still doing remote.
They're doing a lot of remote, and I'm starting to hear chimings that they're meeting outside the county,
Oh, are they really? Okay.
which is not good.
So,
So,
I get some transient, but we really just, it never came back.
they never came back.
Nope.
So
we're still
that's-
seeing the teams on the weekends and things like that, and there is an increase in that. But as far as your Monday to Thursday clientele,
Yeah,
It's,
I used to have wait lists before COVID,
yeah.
and it's just,
so
that's
that's
not the
something
case.
we gotta kind of be concerned
I'm out there
about.
trying to sell,
I know,
Yeah.
I know you are.
but as a whole,
But
I mean.
we operate
the
off of that
whole-
money, and if
Yeah.
we're down
Yeah.
one month that much, so we gotta
Yeah.
kind of watch that, I think.
Yeah.
We need to keep some
So is
slush
this in
fund.
our wheelhouse to help bring this up? I mean, is there something that we can do? Or is this
Well, that's what
some?
we're doing.
That's what
Yeah.
we're doing.
That's what we're doing with these
Yeah,
grants.
Trying
but
to
I,
get them.
yes, but I mean, besides that, I mean, is there like anything else that we could do? Is it,
Not,
Not really.
okay.
Part of that too, you're seeing, I mean, we diversified amongst, what, there were 3, 4 technically new hotels during COVID that went up too.
yeah, true.
So that makes a big difference too, you kind of spread it
But
out.
that spreads it out, but still, the
You still should have the
total's
total, correct.
down.
Correct, it is down.
It could still be coming back too, because the general manager from the Z Hotel, like
They're
theirs have picked
predicting
up.
2025 is what I'm hearing now when I talk to the
Oh, really?
orthopedics,
Oh,
that there will
really?
be more of a bounce back, but we're never gonna see 2019 again with that number of orthopedics.
No, COVID made it too easy to work
It
remote.
did.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's just the last 3 months. Is summer months, I guess, when a lot of Monday through Thursday happens, or is?
I used to have it year round. I didn't have a
Yeah.
lull except at Christmas time, 2
Right.
weeks,
Right.
when they were off.
Yeah, that was it.
But
Otherwise, you
that's-
had people in hotels
Ever since
Monday through
COVID
Friday.
happened, that has not returned like it was. I have smaller local negotiating accounts, have to get more creative. And I've started to
Right.
reach out to Columbia City, to Plymouth, pulling in more, that maybe they're doing a contract at something in Warsaw, they're gonna stay in Warsaw.
Right.
So we're starting to get a little more creative.
Yeah.
But that year-round
I'm just
traffic.
curious because it's just the last 3 months before it's pretty.
Right, but you
so-
should see increase in the other months too, where we're seeing flat. So it's not just the last 3.
But some of that was from Airbnbs too, wasn't it?
No, well,
There was a drop
maintaining-
of
They're
them, they're
maintaining it, looks
maintaining
like.
them.
They're on
They
the
are.
16,000, 18, you know,
Correct,
they're.
they're similar. It was the
Okay.
drop in
But
hotel
if we didn't
occupancy.
have them, we certainly wouldn't have this money.
Oh,
to-
no,
to give.
absolutely not. We have to
No.
give credit where
I mean,
credit's
that they
due.
really
Yeah.
They
stepped-
really did during, right before COVID too. They
Right.
just started to pick up and really take to that.
Yeah,
So we're
'cause,
seeing more of a trend.
Last year, we got roughly $220,000 from the state.
In the back.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way that we can make sure all Airbnbs and people who are renting homes to visitors are paying the innkeeper's tax? They are. They're supposed to be, correct? They're supposed to be, but are they?
I would assume that's set up with Airbnb.
Yeah,
It
it would
is.
have to be.
It'd
They would have to
part of
be, or I
their-
don't think they could actually rent.
Yeah, they wouldn't be
I
able
mean,
to
I think they have to be
list it.
current to even list it.
That through Airbnb, through the state of Indiana, through the Indiana Department of Revenue, they have to pay the innkeeper's tax on that platform. Correct, so you get the home shares through the Indiana Department of Revenue.
Correct.
The hotels are county funded. So you get that.
Airbnb, VRBO does, if it's a hosted platform that you list Airbnb, your home share on, they are required to collect that innkeeper's tax, and remember, it's 2 months in arrears.
Correct.
So, there is that, but there are some listed that are private, that I'm guessing we're just limiting them, right? Since that would be the case for a few of those. So those would be the ones that maybe you're thinking about, if you have a private here that's not listing on one of those major firms, making sure that they know the rules that they.
Correct.
And I think the county's done a really good job of trying to figure out who those are and make sure that they're.
That's always been our problem, trying to run those people down. It's tough.
Correct.
Because before, we were hardly getting anything from those.
Correct.
And now, at least we're getting something, 200-some thousand.
Significant.
But that's a nationwide trend. The home share innkeeper's tax is down in comparison to hotels, whereas during the pandemic,
They
home
did
share
flip.
went up and hotels were
They
down.
did.
So that's a good thing for our hoteliers,
Yeah.
but it's nationwide.
That is true.
Okay, we had roughly $53,000 to give away. and
We gave 208.
Yeah, well, I was
253,
210, but
two-
you're
yeah.
more accurate.
We
So-
need to
So we're
move
over,
money.
we're over our budget for a grant request for this
Correct.
year, so we'll have to move some money,
Funds.
transfer some money. Now, my question is that we removed some grants, roughly 19,000, that was never submitted for
Correct.
payment. Does that go, how do we handle?
We did make those notes of
Yeah.
the grants
Mhm.
you removed
Yes.
the last time. And since, this past week, we did do some encumbering of your 22 funds to 23 in the amount of $110,000. So I think right now, as far as, of course, cash, you have more than enough cash. But as far as
Oh, okay.
appropriation, then that makes your appropriations after the encumbering, $232,517.50. So your appropriation is back to being good.
Where it should
Okay.
be.
So I think you're okay
Okay.
for right now.
But for
Okay.
our September and November, we're going to have
To move
funds.
some money.
Yes, because we're going to
Okay.
want to not be
So we're okay
dry
now.
at this point. We want to encourage people to come.
We also had, just so you know, the treasurer, had a couple of refunds that they needed to do to a couple different places. One, their innkeeper's tax just accidentally got paid twice. And so she was refunding
Oh.
a duplicate payment back to those people. And then she found, with the Zimmer Hotel, a few payments that were overpaid from clear back to 21, so she was, refunding that money also to Zimmer. It's about $3,700.
Well, so it's not
So
gonna
it's
be,
not a lot.
it's not gonna.
But I wanted you
Okay.
guys to know about it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
perfect.
So we'll wait to move some money.
Until
down the
our
road.
next,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
thank you for that.
Okay,
So-
anything else?
If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, you gotta
Oh,
approve, we gotta approve.
question.
Is there an amount, public for the rainy day fund?
A what?
How much is in the rainy day fund?
How much is in there? We like to keep $500,000 at least in our rainy day fund, but yes, he has a figure.
Well, our cash balance as of June 30th is 903,000.
Prior to all of what we just,
But some of that's been appropriated out, so
Correct.
I'm not really sure what would be. That, close to $500,000 probably.
we like to keep, in case we had a COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And
Sure we
we're,
were
what
able
we're
to
seeing is.
I know, we're
receipts
down,
coming
so we
down,
gotta
so-
be a little frugal.
Oh, I think we gotta approve the finance.
Yeah, did you approve?
Oh, yes. Do I have a motion to approve the finances? I apologize.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, a motion to
Yeah,
adjourn.
there you go.
Then we do have a couple claims that we need to
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
sign. I don't know if you need to approve those in your meeting or if that's just a signature.
Before
sick.
we adjourn too, I have something I wanted to talk to the group about as well.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do the signatures before, that's fine. And Mark wanted me to make mention that he represents us on the KCCRVC board. His appointment runs out in January. And he's asked if I would be interested, if there's not anyone else that wants to do that, to step on for us to the board of the CCAC at that point. So,
Does he?
he has to go off that board. There's a term.
Oh,
And then
okay.
he can come back on after a year.
Yeah, with
But in
term
the interim.
limits, but a
Correct.
1-year
But we
layout.
have to have representation on that board to
Okay.
keep an eye on the funding and what we're doing with those funds for that venue.
Okay.
So unless anyone else
Matt?
would like
I'd be
to.
happy for you to do it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, you don't have to have the okay, but I just wanted that.
I
Before we
understand.
move forward. Okay.
Okay.
And I already caught some of that. Did you need to
We don't have to,
reiterate?
no.
Oh, there's
approve. It's
Question
this-
back here.
Yes. No, you can't approve it.
Follow up if we need to.
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine. So,
Anything else?
don't think so. She has signatures she needs. Can we
Oh, yeah,
adjourn
we gotta
before
sign
that,
some.
or do you
We
want us
gotta
to
sign.
sign before we adjourn?
We have 2 claims that we need to.
Okay.
Okay.
We give us copies. When you adjourn.
Oh, we're adjourned. We had our second and meeting
Yeah.
adjourned. Thank
Okay,
you.
good meeting.
Thank you.
Great.
That's a good meeting.
It was a good meeting.
Recording stopped.
And lots of new things coming to the county.
Doctor?
And then,
Yeah,
I've heard your name a lot. strategic thinker in the county, kind of up and coming, so.
I appreciate that.
Hi, Anna. So you're with
Nice
the
job.
the Frog, right?
No.
No?
That's
I'll
Doug
probably
Schumer.
have you as a
Is he
student
on
before
the
too much longer.
commission as well?
You're working on your
Okay,
master's in
all right, well, then I
nonprofit.
had you mixed up with
So,
him, so
Mark,
you
no,
do
the lab.
yes, the lab.
Yep, I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a lot
How long
about
have
you
you been
guys
doing
and
it?
stuff through Alex and Kelsey. I'm good friends with
Oh,
them.
Okay,
And
okay,
then
that's-
amongst other community
Okay.
things
I,
and stuff like
I was
that,
getting
so.
you
Yeah.
confused with
Yeah.
the person from the, okay. Well,
And then I live over on Papakichi, so.